morning. So my name is Tamara. Today's presentation is going to be over a concept that I found really fascinating related to word choices and the symbolism of sound. It's a concept called phonesthesia. So the way the word sounds and the shape the word makes both play part in this phonesthesia. So there was a study done on language, and what they found was that people expect meaning based off of how a word is pronounced or how it feels in their mouth. So on the screen there are two shapes. Now, researchers asked, which of these shapes would you call Kiki if you had to name these two shapes? And what they found was 98% of the ones surveyed chose the same answer. So take a minute and get in your own head which one you think is Kiki, and then I will tell you which is which. So Kiki, 98% of people agreed, was the spiky shape on the right, because the shape in your mouth has spikes. Ki. It is a spiked word. The other shape, most people agreed the name on that would be boba, because it is a blobbish, bubbly-ish type shape. We know that the shape is influencing the chosen name. In 2021, V.S. Ramchandran and Edward Hubbard did a study, and they asked college students and then they asked Tamil speakers in India using the Kiki and Boba experiment. And that's where they came up with the 98% of people, even across language barriers, still choose the same name per shape. So this study was actually not studying language, and it was not studying the phonemes. What it was studying was the synesthesia. Essentially, whenever you see a letter is a certain color, things like that. So it ended up giving them a direction of study that hadn't really been focused on very much, which was how do the sounds, the symbolism of the sounds, affect how meaning is perceived. So there was a study done led by Nicholas Johansson, and they were looking at the phonemes of 245 different languages and the things they shared in common. So the phoneme is the smallest unit of language, and the smallest unit of sound in it. So it's what makes different words distinct. But what they found is, out of all of these phonemes across all of these languages, there were 20 distinctive macro concepts. A macro concept is just a broad category of meaning that's consistent across languages. So some of these concepts are very simple, like your basic descriptors, big versus small. So the 20 macro concepts can be sorted into 4 distinct categories. So there are the 4 concepts in these categories. Remember, that comes back to the 20 micro concepts. So the diagrammatic mappings is your first one, and it is the relationship between the sound and the meanings. And it is the relative difference between two sounds equaling the relative difference between two meanings, like slow versus fast. Another of these concepts is cross-modal imitation, so like if you see a thumbs up, and you know that means yes. And then there is actually the most obvious for phonesthesia is onomatopoeia, which is literally whenever the sound becomes the name of an object. So this concept really comes into play when it comes to creating poetry. The word choices that you make in poetry determine the way it flows, the way the translator has to consider. It goes a little deeper than that though, because across languages there is a consistency. The best example of this is words for affirmative and negative. English, Spanish, French. Yes, si, oui. No, negation is no, no, none. Each of the words that are for yes in these common languages open the mouth. Yes, mouth pulling apart. Si, mouth pulling apart. Oui, mouth pulling apart. No, no, none. It reflects the meaning in the way the words themselves are said. So your question becomes stylistically, what words are you going to choose? In this screen of my PowerPoint, I have got two different suffixes, ing and or. And if you're going to write about flying or swimming or movement, you use an ing word, a word that opens your mouth when you say it. If you're using a word like anchor or floor or door or drawer, things that are closed, things that are downward in movement, you're using a word that ends in or. So those meanings can give you a more powerful style by knowing how the words you're choosing will come across to your audience. So the stylistic exercise for this is pretty simple. Choose words with opposite meanings and pay attention to how they feel in your mouth. Words like around, move around the word. Words like under, short, clipped, downward motion. Open, opening the mouth, close. Wide, that long I sound, versus narrow. Push, which makes your mouth move outward, versus pull, which pulls your lips inwards. These are my examples. You can come up with your own. Try to find the words that echo their meaning in the way you say them.